Yo, what is up, guys? Eliaz here.
And Cole, the co-host of the InspoCast, where we bring future fitness superstars straight to your ear. And before we get into our awesome guests for today, we want to let you know about all of our awesome guests and how you can hear about all of the awesome guests that we've had on here. So tell them where they can find us.
Make sure you guys follow us on TikTok and Instagram. That's inspo._cast. And make sure you guys go check us out on YouTube and Spotify. And we're going to be also expanding to other platforms.
On top of that, also check out InspoCast.com, which is our website. That is going to feature all of our social media links. It has a calendar with every single guest that we've had on there, description, and it will take you straight to the video. But that is all we got for shameless plugs. Without further ado, let's get into our guest for today.
In episode 17 of the podcast, we have Parsa.
Parsa, a.k.a. the Persian God, a.k.a. PK Fit on Instagram and all social media platforms, is a social media influencer, most known for his educational content. And today we talk a lot about fitness education. We talk about supplementation, more specifically things that improve testosterone. We talk about mindset in the gym and a wide variety of topics.
Make sure you guys stick it through to the end, and let's get into the episode.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we're live.
Let's
go. Episode 17 of the InspoCast today. My gosh. And we are here with the one and only PK Fit, a.k.a. Parsa. Insert last name because it's so long we can't even pronounce it. What is it again? It's
Khorasani Zadeh.
Khorasani
Zadeh. Oh my gosh.
It's good to see you.
It's a mouthful. Dude, it's good to see you too. Hell yes. Because I was going to say, we got in contact. Oh my gosh. We've known each other for a while now.
Yeah.
So it's been like, obviously we have a mutual friend in Dom, obviously, and I worked with him. But even outside of that, I mean, like through the social media community locally, like obviously we've known each other, and like you've come to be, dude. So I was telling people about this podcast before you even came on, like earlier this week, and they're like, dude, are you serious? You're having Parsa on? Oh yeah, dude. Like you're a legend at Vasa locally.
I appreciate that. That's so cool. I don't even think of it like that, but I think I'm just like a normal dude, so it's nice to hear.
I mean, and that's the thing though, like I always talk about in this podcast, how everybody that comes on here is just a normal person, right?
Right.
Nobody portrays a life here that's just like, above and beyond outside of all these like has these unrealistic expectations themselves, like movie stars and stuff like that. Like it's just normal people, but like, your physique, the information you provide and the message that you bring is like so inspiring to others that they literally think of you as like a legend, dude.
That's so hype.
Yes,
and
sir.
man, the shit that you guys are building is, we can curse on this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, nice. I didn't know. But yeah, the stuff that you guys are building, like that's huge motivation for people like me,
We appreciate that, dude. And actually, we had talked about doing this episode. Oh my gosh, this was like a month ago, I think. It was like, I was like, hey, yo, you want to come on? You're like, I'm actually I'm not in town right now. And you told me you're actually in Florida right now, which is sick, dude. But no, we finally, you texted me earlier this week and it was like, hey, yo, I'm gonna be in town for the week. I'm like, oh my gosh, let's go. Yes, fill the guest list.
Let's go. And 17's my lucky number too, so I don't know how that worked out. So.
Yo, episode 17 for the Lucky Man 17 right here.
Let's
That's
go.
insane. But no, hey, we got to start first and foremost with, because there will be some people in the audience that have no idea who you are, like in any capacity, right? So like, who is Parsa? Like, obviously, where did you start in all the fitness scheme? Because like, you're a monster, dude. Like physique wise, go check him out. We're gonna leave all of his links in the description, by the way, and go check out his physique because it's nutty. Your back routine, we'll talk about that TikTok too. That was actually insane.
Yeah, man, I was proud of that.
But no, where did this start? Like, were you always just big AF or like?
I mean, I was actually always like the small skinny kid. So like, I feel like lifters have like two arcs, like you're the small skinny kid or you're like the fat kid, and then you want to change. And so, yeah, I was the small skinny kid. I was a soccer player. I was always like really lean. I always had abs. Like my shoulders were good. And I always wanted to lift, and my parents were like, no, you can't lift. Like, the way parents are, if you're the firstborn, they're like, oh, protein powder is bad for you. Like pre-workout is drugs. And so like, they were kind of scared to let me get into it. But I started my junior year of high school, got a trainer, went to Gold's Gym. And then, from there it was like, all right, how can I, like, I'm so behind everybody. Like all these football players are so big. How do I get as big as I can, as fast as I can? And so like, thankfully at this time, Jeff Nippard was putting out a ton of videos. I'm like a science guy. I'm an engineer. And so for me, it was really cool seeing his like science-based approach to lifting. And I was able to just binge knowledge. and learn a lot. And then that's kind of how I was able to get here.
Okay. And also, are you originally from Florida?
No, I'm originally from Illinois. We were in Peoria, but we've lived all over. My dad, because of my dad's job. So, we've lived all around, and we're just in Florida right now.
Okay, got you. Yeah, so you started at I mean, not call it like the earliest, like you weren't like one of those like 14 to 17-year-old like epic transformations, but like at the rate at which you grew from 17 to like, I mean, probably even up to now, right? What would you say like peak physique for you was or is?
Peak physique, I feel like it's kind of just been like a slow upwards trajectory. I would have my like ups and downs, and then I learned something new, like, oh, I got to eat more protein, and then I'd make like crazy gains. So like, oh, I got to switch my split, make crazy gains. Oh, I got to, eat more. Oh, I got to sleep more. I got to do this and that. Kind of what happened was, slowly I was learning things. I still wasn't that crazy my freshman, sophomore year. I was doing a bro split. I wasn't eating enough. And then I'd go home in the summers, and then I'd just like count my calories and just grind. And all I would do is lift. And then I'd make some really good progress over the summer, and it kind of slowed down when I got back. I would say my peak physique was maybe about like a semester ago. Like now that I'm in Florida, I'm playing a lot of sports. I love lifting, but I think just the biggest thing is being healthy. So I'm playing a lot of sports. But over quarantine, I was lifting at home, and then I stayed home a semester, and I just went to the gym. Like, I would just stay in the gym for like hours. And then when I came back, because I was eating so well for a year, I was working out so hard for a year. I had no distractions, nothing other than lifting and doing school. That was probably my peak.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, you talk about, well, in essence, like you're a knowledge appeal, right? And so I talked about, this was in the car when I picked you up before we came on, of like, we've had a lot of different guests on the podcast, and I think their appeal ranges. And I think there are a lot of people that we've had are, fat to fit transformations. We've also had people that are just in the motivational spectrum, social media influencers, you name it. And I think all of us kind of lie in some of those realms. But for you, I think you're the first person that we've had that's like, honestly, like truly the knowledge appeal. Right. And I know you started initially, like, I guess, what was your fascination with like binging intellectual, like science-based fitness content?
I mean, I always have been the type to like, like one of the things that I say is like, don't try to be right, try to find the truth. And like, I always just liked, as an engineer, I have that analytical mind. Like, I want to get from point A to point B. What tool do I have to use? What's the best way to use it? And like, if the data's out there, like, I want to know. There's no reason I should be lifting for 10 years, doing a bro split, and then on year 11, I'm like, oh, I could have like doubled my gains by doubling my frequency. And so it really didn't happen until about 3-4 years down the line when I started, like I just stumbled on a Jeff Nippard video, and then from there, it was just like, oh, and then I tried experimenting on myself, like with, some of the things that he recommended, and then I saw the changes in my body, and then from there, it was like, oh, now I want to keep doing this. Like, I see the positive results.
Right. Yo, I want you to talk about, because like, not everybody's forte is like the knowledge side, right? I think some people can get to the same physique even just through the motivational means and keeping it very simple. But I think a lot of it coincided with like your education too, like in terms of like how you gain and absorb knowledge. Cause I'm guessing, you learned the best practices for you of like the process of literally how to learn through college, right? And like, obviously that helped you in your degree, but that probably also helped you in terms of how you absorb fitness content, right? So I'm curious, talk about, because there's a lot of people that don't know. So Purdue University is in the Big Ten, okay? And it is known for being one of the top 5 engineering programs in the whole entire country. Or I would say at least top 10, right? It probably varies from engineering program to engineering program. Yo, my roommate was an aerospace engineer, actually. I don't know if Christian Wright is his name. I don't know if you know that.
I've never met him.
Dude, there's so many people in engineering. So yeah. But I know what you went through. Talk to the audience about like what you went through in college in terms of your degree, because like, dude, it is like, there's a lot of majors. I mean, you could just go for psychology. No hate to any of those people, by the way. But like, I will tell you the degree at which like you have to really like the mental fortitude that you have to like do that major is actually insane. So talk about your experience too as like an aerospace engineer.
Yeah, I mean, I always loved math. I always loved, my dad was an engineer, so I wanted to be like him. And then I liked space, so I went into aerospace. And man, let me tell you, it is such a grind. It's actually so difficult. And I actually struggled for a while. like to get in the flow of like doing well in college. Like in high school, it was kind of easy. I felt like, you know, I picked up things really fast. I didn't really need to study. Then I get to college and it was a big surprise. But on the upside, I'm really grateful for it because I went through some of like these extremely difficult classes, but then at the same time kind of taught me the work ethic and like what I needed to do if I wanted to be successful in anything. It kind of pushed me to have a drive like, hey, like I don't want to be given any success. Like I actually want to work for this. So, it, you know, it taught me a lot, but man, it was really difficult. It brought me closer with my health and lifting career because if I was not operating at 100%, there was no way that I was going to be able to succeed in my major. You know, some people, they just have really good genetics for focusing and they have really good genetics for, you know, or they've been brought up in a certain way that gave them a certain work ethic. Mm-hmm. I feel like me personally, I struggle to focus as well as normal. And so because of that, I had to develop like the good lifting habits, sleep on time, go to the gym early, eat really well, take your vitamins, put my brain in this optimal position so that I could succeed. And so I'm kind of grateful for that struggle because it made me learn a lot about the brain and the body and how to optimize it to work, you know, just as well as you possibly can. And that's kind of like the passion that I have now.
Right. And also the disciplinary skills, right? I think one thing that you learn when you're in an engineering major, if you're successful at least, is time management. Holy shit. So like, for example, I'm guessing you could probably relate to this. So my roommate, I remember I went to his room one time. He was like just fucking in this little cave and for like 3 days. And I'm like, I just knocked on his door. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Like, what's up? He's like, oh, I'm good. And I was like, oh God. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm making this satellite orbit around the moon. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I've been working on this for like 50 hours. Like from the time he woke up to the time he go to bed, like that's literally what he did. So like the fortitude that you have to have. And the other thing, I mean, like his physique suffered as a result of that. So like I commend you for like actually being able to have the discipline and the time management to say like, hey, even though I have school and an education, like I still need to prioritize my health. You know, you talked about optimizing the brain and things like that. Like you have to do that or else you're not even going to excel in school in the capacity that which you want to.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's actually something that I had to learn early on was like, you know, I either had time for school or I had time to go to the gym. And I didn't know how to balance it. Like first I was all into the gym and my school suffered. And then I was all into school. And then my schoolwork started to get worse because my brain wasn't operating as well. I wasn't as happy. I couldn't focus as well. And so I had to decide like, man, how am I going to fix this? And I get this question asked all the time. I decided like, okay, I can't think of, you know, workout as separate from my school. When I go work out, my brain works faster. Maybe it takes 2 hours out of my day, but I work 2 hours faster. My work is more quality. I will get better grades. So I had to think of it like that. And, you know, maybe I don't have time, I don't go. Or maybe I don't have too much time. I'll do a 30-minute lift. But anything just to get in there, keep it going. That's the biggest thing that I learned is I needed to use it to optimize my performance, not see it as a separate thing from my work. It really goes in tandem together.
Right. You're an optimization, I'm going to call it optimization freak. Like you really are, and it's benefited you in so many different ways. You know, I think we've talked on the podcast about sleep before. You know, there are some people that just grind through, they'll sleep like 5 hours a night and they'll be like, yo, I need that extra 3 hours to work. It's like, yeah, I get what you're trying to get at, but like, here's the thing. You sleep that extra 3 hours, you're going to be 20% more productive throughout the day, and you're actually going to get more shit done in less time, which, I mean, isn't that what everybody wants to do, right?
Dude, sleep is so important, and like good quality sleep, how long you sleep. I remember listening to a podcast because I was kind of the same vein. Like, okay, if I can sleep like 6 hours and just work a little harder, like I'm going to do that. And I listened to this podcast. This guy's like, your brain literally does not work as well if you get 1 hour less of sleep. You know, and I could kind of tell like you're trying to work on a super hard assignment and you just cannot crunch the numbers. And so, you know, especially for lifting too, like you can make like 5-10% more gains if you go from sleeping like 6 hours a night to 8.
Yep.
You know,
I mean, you think about your hormonal complex, like cortisol is extremely high when you're in sleep deprivation. And I mean, that's one thing that's going to limit your gains in and of itself. Right. And also you're going to feel like shit and you're going to feel more bloated. You're going to feel fat. So like, yeah, no, 100%. Yo, I know this man over here. I know he literally was studying you for like days.
I saw his notebook, and
so I know he has questions. I want to hear him. Which one you got for us?
All right. So I was just watching like your TikToks and stuff like that, your reels. For the people that don't know, what is time under tension and what are the benefits of it?
So what the research has now shown, like we used to think that muscle is created by like tearing the muscle. And now what we're seeing is it's actually how much mechanical tension, like stretching or compressing, can you put on the muscle. And then from there it'll adapt and it'll get stronger. And so a lot of people, when they first go to the gym, they get into the mistake of just throwing up the weight, going up really fast and coming down fast as well. But when you look at all these big bodybuilders, like you look at Arnold when he's doing these chest presses, or you look at Nick Walker when he's doing his RDLs with 6-7 plates, the way they do it is they explode up, they get really powerful contraction, they might squeeze for a little bit, and then they control the weight on the way down. And, you know, I kind of noticed that. I started implementing it into a little bit of my lifts, kind of really going into that full stretch. And, you know, over a period of a few months, I like noticed I was making a little bit more gains than I was before. And then I kind of correlated that with these bodybuilders that do the same thing. They really control the weight. And now when you look into research, they've looked into like the bicep curl. They've looked into, they work out in the first half of the range of motion, the lengthened portion, versus the second half of the range of motion, the shortened portion. And what they've shown is that if you spend more time in the lengthened portion, you actually make more muscle than the shortened portion.
So the eccentric portion of the movement, correct?
Exactly. And really getting into that full stretch is that kind of important thing that they've found. So yeah, that's what I would say. Time under tension is super important. I think it can impact anybody who's trying to put on muscle. Strength, I'm not quite so sure. I'm not really a strength guy, but for muscle, absolutely, it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So you've talked about like how you gained knowledge in fitness, right? But then I think for a lot of people, you know, you have to start with getting educated first. And then once you have a baseline education, you can start to make tweaks in real time on your own, right? So talk about how because your program's going to evolve over time, but talk about how you kind of evolved your program into like complete optimization, like from this time when you started lifting, back when you got a trainer at Gold's, to all the way to the point where you are now.
Yeah. So like the process is, you know, you start off with like whatever base knowledge you have, and then you need to think of the gym like a big experiment. You know, you just got to run experiments, see what works, see what doesn't work. Hey, like my shoulder kind of hurts when I bench. I'm going to look this up. Oh, now I've learned good bench form. Okay, I'm a little bit more optimized. Hey, like I don't know if I really like doing lateral raises like this. I'm going to look up the form. Oh, I'm going to lean forward a little bit. Maybe it hits it a little harder. I'm a little more optimized. Hey, my front delts are kind of sore. Like, I don't know if I should be shoulder pressing. I look it up. You know, your front delts work when you do chest exercises. I don't need to do front delts anymore. So it's little by little. You got to be asking these questions. You know, could I be doing a little bit better? Is there something I want to fix? Like, am I not having fun with my workout? Do I want to just switch things up and try something new? Honestly, and then over time, you gain more and more knowledge. It doesn't happen in one bunch. Mm-hmm. I'm almost on my 8th year of lifting. So, you know, it's just a lot of time of learning different things, running different experiments. And I have so many things I could talk about. But, you know, like, for example, one of the things was I had an issue early on in my life where I would get hospitalized, you know, with like whatever illness, and then I'd lose all my gains, and then I'd have to come back and, you got to start all over again. Mm-hmm. That's the worst. I'm sure you go through it.
Sorry, he had a bender at the bars last night. No, I'm just kidding.
But what you realized, what I learned was that, you know, you can actually put muscle back on faster than it takes to initially build it. So then I learned something there. The other thing that I learned is I went to the doctors. They checked my vitamin D level. On a scale from 0 to 100, you know, they say you want to be 30, a level of 30 before you are not deficient. My level was a 9. Oh, so it was super low. And then they gave me vitamin D. I started taking vitamin D. My mental health kind of improved a little bit. Then I started going to the gym. I started putting on a little more muscle. You know, my strength was doing well. Then I forgot to start taking it. Started plateauing in the gym a little bit. Then I started taking vitamin D again, I remember. Then my strength started going up. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I started to build a little more muscle. I'm like, hold up, what did I just change? And then it was like, is it the vitamin D? I looked it up, and if you bring your levels of vitamin D to an optimal level, it increases your testosterone. Mm. Vitamin D is a hormone. And, you know, and it was just complete accident that I found this out. And so now, like, one of the biggest vitamins that I recommend to everybody, especially if you're darker skinned, because you don't absorb sunlight as well, but pretty much everybody's deficient in vitamin D. I mean, we're inside all the time. Yeah. We don't get it enough from foods. And pretty much unanimously, everybody that starts taking 5,000 to 10,000 IU of vitamin D per day, they get a little bit leaner, they get a little bit stronger, start putting on a little more muscle. And at first I was like, is this like a placebo? But like, without fail, almost everybody's like, I feel different.
Yeah, I actually want to mention, because I started taking vitamin D3 because I saw some dude talking about it on TikTok. And so he said, like, he did a correlation, like, he did blood work, and, like, his testosterone went up. Like, it wasn't anything significant, but, like, it made a difference. And, like, ever since I started taking it, I take 15,000 IUs, and I feel so good all the time in the gym.
Yeah.
My lifts are good, and I feel like I just make more gains, too.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Like, the other one is zinc. You typically will get it in meat. But one of the ways that zinc works, other than, helping your immune system, which obviously allows your body to work more efficiently, is it works as an aromatase inhibitor, which
yes,
right,
we like
exactly,
that.
prevents the conversion of testosterone into estrogen.
Yeah.
So if you have lower zinc levels, you could be having higher estrogen and lower testosterone. So zinc, anywhere from 30 to 50 milligrams. Take it with food because it will give you a mad stomach ache if you don't. Also has that similar effect. And I was actually kind of interested in my bloods, like you were talking about. I think my total testosterone was like around like 650 the first time I got it checked. I don't know if this was in the hospital too. That can make a difference, and what time you check it can make a difference. But then after being on like a really good strict regimen of my lifting, my sleep, my vitamin D, my zinc, magnesium as well, it went up like 30%. Damn. Yeah, and like I wonder if everybody can get to that point. Like what we see now in the studies is that total testosterone levels in the past like 30 years, have you guys heard of this?
Yes.
Yeah, they've dropped something like 15-20%, like something crazy.
A lot of it deals with the nutrition. I know you'd agree with that. We can talk about that. But anyways, I mean, keep going into your point.
Yeah,
there.
no, I mean, like you're saying, how can that happen? Like, it's got to be nutrition, stress levels, sleep. Some people say microplastics in the body too. And so, that means if they've gone down, there's a way that we can bring them back up, and I think there's a way that we can fully optimize our body through, certain actions that we take to get back to that level. It's kind of a hopeful thing for me.
Yo, first thing, hey, your test may be at 650, but your power level's at 9,000, bro. It's insane.
No, dude, they went up to 950 when I checked it the second time.
Holy shit, that's like super physiological levels.
Well, yeah, I mean, the range goes up to about 1,000. And
it's 1,000, okay.
Yeah, 1,000 is about
the high end of the
But it was
reference
funny
range.
because, I went to the doctor as I wanted to get it checked, like get my vitamin D checked, all this stuff. And, I always get asked, like, are you taking steroids? I'm like, no. And then she gives me the results back. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, no, I'm just taking my vitamins, dude, and a workout, and I'm very healthy, and like I do a lot of different things to optimize, and I have good genetics. At the end of the day, genetics is so important.
It is. I've been a financial freak recently, like studying more on the finance side, because I think that's important to your health as well too, just having peace of mind there. And it's kind of like your credit score. It's like, you do these little things over time and it's going to impact your credit score positively, and that accumulation adds up long term. And I think for you, you're talking about all the proactive measures you take in terms of vitamin support, exercise, sleep, hygiene, all these different things. And like in terms of your point score in testosterone, like long term, it makes a huge difference, because people think, the only way to really increase testosterone is just like take test, which is the most direct measure to do it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you want to be in super physiological territory, like you're going to have to do that. Right. But if you want to stay natty and deal with way less health consequences and things like that, listen to this motherfucking podcast, episode 17, baby. My question for you is, like, you've accumulated a lot of knowledge, and I think to be able to retain that is very difficult. So how did you like document all of this, or did you, or like, how did you document your progress? Cause at least personally, we talked on the last podcast, literally it was with Willie Gaines, how like writing down your workouts actually greatly benefits you. And just to be able to write down anything and see that, like, you physically have to do that, like it benefits you in a multitude of different ways. So like, how were you able to retain this, and like what documentation did you use?
Yeah, that's totally right. Like, so I don't write down all of my lifts. But I kind of enjoy like power building. I feel like I have something to work towards, like getting a little bit stronger. And so for my bench, my squat, and I don't deadlift, but I like to RDL. I think it's a really good hamstring builder. I write down every rep of every set. I've been kind of falling off of doing that recently, but I mean, you can see over like the year of all the sets that I've done, like how my strength has gone up and how I'm progressing. I know last time I got 5 reps. This time I'm really going to try for 6, but if I didn't know I got 5 last time, I might just get 5 again and be cool with it. Makes a huge difference. I'm a big proponent for pushing to failure, or at least close to failure in almost every set. But I just want to touch on something you said about the law of marginal gains. You were kind of talking about where you do small things over time and it adds up to one really big thing. I saw something where if you get 1% better every day, 1.01 to the power of 365.
Yep.
By the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better.
Yep. I actually have a friend that's very much into mental health optimization and things like that. I call it compound interest. That's really what it is. It's like, you make the little changes now, you're not going to notice it. It was like an example of like, this guy told me, he was like, okay, so one guy decided he was going to walk 10 minutes a day every day. The other guy decided he was going to bake for 10 minutes every day. Right. And so in the 6-month margin, there really was no change physiologically between either individual. One person maybe had gained like 5 pounds, the other had lost 5 pounds, but anybody can do that, right? But you look over the long term, 18 months is when you really start to see the impact. That was when the drastic changes happened. And it was like, the dude that was walking 10 minutes a day decided he was going to walk 20 minutes a day, and he was doing it with his wife, and their relationship got way better. And it was like the other guy, he was baking every day, wasn't talking to his wife. By the end of year 5, the one dude that was baking was like divorced, and the other dude was like running half marathons, like with his wife, having the happiest relationship ever. So like the minor tweaks that you make, that's in your life, but even marginally in your fitness, right, are going to make a huge impact. Because as we know, like fitness is a long-term game, man. Like you're not playing this for the short run. Like you have to make small adjustments now to see the progress that you want.
Yeah. So another thing that you mentioned, like, how do I remember all this stuff that I look up? I think the important thing is you need to be interested in what you're trying to research. Like if you go out, like, for example, if you're studying in school and they're trying to ask you, like, you got to learn what an eigenvector is, and then, like, I don't remember what an eigenvector is.
I don't know what the fuck that is. Yeah.
I kind of don't care. But like, if I'm looking up like how zinc supplementation affects the body, like I'm really interested in that. I talk about it, I show it to friends, and then over time I kind of, just get cemented in my memory. And then on that note, just to kind of finish up on the vitamin supplementation, I've been talking about vitamin D, I've been talking about zinc, magnesium before bed. And I know More Plates, More Dates, he just came out with a new like natural testosterone booster. Those are like the first 3 ingredients on there. So I was like telling my friends, like, yo, we've been on this, like, let's go. That's hype.
Dude, that's insane. And another thing is, like, I know we talked about this a little bit beforehand because I handed you a bottle of it, but biohacking too, right? Because I know cognitive performance, especially as an intellectual, is like a huge thing, right? Like you want more brain power for longer. I think everybody that tries to be a smart individual wants that. So what is your experience with nootropics at large?
Yeah. So with nootropics,
and also explain what they are, because there were probably, we haven't talked about it on the podcast before. And I will just say I'm a big proponent. Axe and Sledge, which is by Seth Feroce, makes great products. Actual Intelligence is a great nootropic profile. Here, I'm going to read off at least some of the ingredients. So lion's mane mushroom powder, alpha GPC 50, caffeine's a part of that, L-theanine. So there's a bunch of different ingredients that constitute like a nootropic, but like talk about like what it is and like what your experience is with it.
Yeah. So like you take supplements to help with your body and your lifting to make you perform better. You can do the same thing with your brain. And your brain is obviously the most important thing that you have in your body. And so my experience was over quarantine, we're isolated from everybody. It's a high stress time. You have no contact with the outside world. Don't know what's going to happen. But I still had to study in a really difficult major, and I was having trouble. I couldn't go get a prescription for, maybe Adderall because, I thought maybe I have ADHD. And so I was like, okay, how do I fix this? I got to look into nootropics. What is my brain missing that I need to support it with? And there's a bunch of different things that you can do for focus. There's, you can actually take supplements that increase your brain-derived neurotrophic factor and your nerve growth factor. So if you want to increase the amount of cells that your brain is producing, there are things you can take. Lion's mane is one of those things. You find that if you take things that increase your BDNF and your NGF, you feel like you can learn a little bit faster. So, I just kind of tried doing as much research as I could into nootropics, because I was like, what is this nootropics thing? Is this real? Like, is this kind of like fake? And sure enough, it's a very real thing.
Yep.
You got to be very careful with it, because your chemistry in your brain is such a delicate thing. I was just kind of experimenting with nootropics. You take a little too much or a little too little of something, bam, you're depressed for like a couple days.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like trial and error. Like, okay, I'm trying this. It feels kind of nice. I feel kind of good. Next day, okay, I'm depressed. And then, you kind of slowly work through it. But now it's kind of nice. Like, there's supplements like that help increase your brain power. You don't have to just rely on caffeine, which is a great nootropic, but there's other stuff out there that's really good. And I think it will continue to get big in the future as we start optimizing how our brain works. Some of these things can help with dementia and Alzheimer's and help our brains regrow, especially in a time where, you know, people may drink a lot and people may smoke a lot. That's fine if you do it, but you know, you also want to support your brain at the same time.
Come here, Addison Ray. There we go. Man, fuck technology. Gosh darn it. But hey, it was a good time to actually take a break because, you know, we drink a lot of water, so we got pissed.
Yeah, got to stay hydrated.
That's facts. Okay, sorry. Starting where we left off there, it was, I was talking about it's called Phenibut, okay? So it's a central nervous system depressant. And so what it does, it actually calms the body, and it's probably one of the most potent nootropics that you can find in combination with a couple other different things. Dude, the shit's scary, man, because the thing is, you know, when you're depressing your central nervous system, which is like a big aspect of your body, long-term one, you find dependency on that too. Like it's just as addictive as like cocaine almost. So like, that's why you really have to be careful with the like supplementation. I think when we're talking about general vitamin support, you know, the big thing you need to concern yourself with is just making sure you're getting the right doses, because you don't want to be too far over and you don't want to be too far under. But when it comes to more potent substances that have more like effects, so to speak, right? Like noticeable effects, those are the things that you really have to concern yourself with.
Yeah, I was actually glad that you brought that up, the nuance with it, because I believe Phenibut is an opioid, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. It's an opiate.
Right. And so, you know, it does help people wean off of opioids, but I've also heard of a lot of stories of people getting super addicted to Phenibut.
Yep.
So I think it's either not regulated or it's legal, but I would just say, you know, if that's an avenue you want to go down, maybe do some research, maybe consider something else, but just keep that in mind. But I did want to ask you guys what your favorite nootropics were.
Oh, yo, I don't have a specific one. The ones that I've messed around with the most, because I've given you some of the actual intelligence that I get before. What have been your effects on it, by the way? Like, do you notice?
No, honestly, no.
It's super subtle.
It's
like,
maybe just because I never really got into them, so I wouldn't really know unless I take them for a while.
Right. So, like, my experience with them, at least, came through sales. So, I was in a sales job, and it's very high focus, high intensity in the moment. And I have a multitude of those like interactions throughout the day. Right. So I needed 1, cognitive performance, and 2, I needed cognitive endurance. So I was like, okay, I need to be able to lock in for 30 minutes at a time, and then also be able to do that for 10 hours a day, which like on your own is extremely difficult, dude. Like, I mean, just going to be honest. So I never got to the point where I really abused them, but it became almost like a dependency where I really needed them to be able to lock in like that. And that's actually part of the reason why I switched career paths. But regardless, the 2 that I've found the most effective, or I'll say 3, because I do believe caffeine is probably one of the most potent nootropics, and I think all of us mess around with it, whether you know that or not, audience. Caffeine is a nootropic, but it's a positive one if it's used regulated, right? But the 2 non-caffeinated constituents I've had are alpha GPC 50, which is included in a lot of nootropic-based pre-workouts. I mean, a lot of pre-workouts in general, and then lion's mane mushroom powder. Nice. I think L-theanine's another one too, but those 2 most specifically.
Yeah, those are some good ones. What about you?
Just like, yeah, whatever. Yes. Caffeine.
Yeah, caffeine's a really good one. Alpha GPC works on the cholinergic system in our brain, which helps with focus. It helps with cognition. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where you have to watch your dose. I think the pre-workouts nowadays, they have a fine dosage. I mean, but I do hear about some people, for example, like one of my friends, Dom, he like will take a certain pre-workout that might have a cholinergic in it, and like he says, it just makes me feel awful. And like everybody's brain is different. What nootropic might be like a godsend for somebody, it just does nothing for somebody else. And that's just kind of the way it is. What was the other one? You said alpha GPC, caffeine. Lion's mane. Yeah, like we talked, lion's mane helps increase your learning and your neuroplasticity. I'd like to get to know a little more about it, but I've kind of been experimenting with other things that increase your BDNF and your NGF. And something so coders like to use it. They think it helps them like code really fast, memorize certain commands. But what I've also been trying to do is like, I'm trying to like learn how to play new sports, like pickleball, for example. And sometimes I'll try to increase my my growth factors in my brain and go play. and I just feel like I'm on, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you just get in a flow.
Yep.
And then it kind of lasts for a little bit. Like I feel like I learn a little bit faster. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, Silicon Valley is actually the place that really made nootropics at large like very big, because a lot of them were dealing with like definitely some more potent substances, cocaine, Adderall, and it was coming with a lot of different side effects. And so they wanted an alternative to these things. And that was what, I mean, it's not like these things have existed for years now, probably decades. I don't know the timetable on it, but like Silicon Valley is really what popularized it, because like you said, you know, it's a lot of mental focus, especially on the coding side of things, and just like engineering work at large. So no, that was just a random thing. But no, I know you had a question about,
No, I have a different question now for this one. So like you said, you experiment a lot with like nootropics or like your own supplements. So, or like even your training, just like anything in general. So like what works for you might not work for me. So like, do you think it's more about experimenting to see what works, like what works for the individual?
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody should experiment. You know, certain things might be more efficacious. Like for example, if you take citrulline, 99% of people that take citrulline, they'll be good. Creatine is actually one of those funny ones. Like I think it's something like 20% of people are non-responders. One of my good friends, Henry, is a jacked Asian guy. He's a non-responder to creatine. It just doesn't work for him. So that's like he had to experiment with that. But then there's also nootropics that like, are you non-responder to?
Yeah.
Really?
Like I just don't take it anymore. I had like 6 months experience with it, you know, enough time to really know. And it was just like literally no difference in terms of weight, physique, like anything. So I'm just creatine. Like, yeah, it's pointless. But yeah, like you said, you know, there are people where like, dude, it'll like literally blow you up almost.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure out like, does your body just naturally produce more?
I think
like,
so.
Maybe. I just don't know what it is. But then there's also, then you get into the nootropics where it's really like 50-50. Like there's just some, alpha GPC is one source of choline that tends to be, it's very bioavailable, works for a lot of people. There's another one called City Choline or CDP Choline. And that one just makes me just depressed. I can't take it, and it kind of sucks because that's the one I bought, you know. But like, this is a learning experience. But you were talking about theanine. Excuse me. You were talking about theanine. Theanine does a couple things. It increases the GABA neurotransmitter in the brain, which calms you down. So like there's some pre-workouts that have it with caffeine, helps your focus be a little smoother. Mm-hmm. It's a compound in green tea. And one of the best things you can take for sleep quality, there was a, especially if you smoke weed. If you smoke weed, the worst thing about smoking weed, I'll tell you, it's fine if you do it. It's not good for sleep. It's really bad for sleep.
Correct.
It prevents you from going into REM sleep.
Yep.
That's what it does. It'll help you fall asleep fast, but you won't go into REM sleep because your body has to, I believe it's because it has to detox. At least that's what alcohol does. You got to detox it before you go into REM sleep. And so what will happen is if you smoke every night, you are preventing yourself from going into REM sleep. You might notice you don't dream as much.
Yep.
And when you stop smoking, you have these crazy dreams that you're going back into REM sleep. You're getting REM rebound. So your mental health may suffer because you're not going into this deep sleep. One of the things you can do is take L-theanine. It increases the brain waves that put you into REM sleep. And I kind of experimented with this. If you find your dosage, for me, it's around 600 milligrams before bed. I wake up feeling so well rested, like dream instantly. And I've been telling some of my friends, their sleep quality gets so much. I just started dreaming. I haven't dreamt in so long. Like I wake up, I'm feeling well rested. So it's one of the things I would recommend.
So I'll speak on experience with that. So, and this is something I touched on in a previous podcast, episode 12. Go check that out, by the way. But it was actually, I literally smoked every single day for like 18 months. And, you know, that's a whole issue in and of itself. But I had some breaks in between. And I remember I talked to Riz one time and he was like, yo, I've been getting I quit smoking. I got my dreams back. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Because you don't realize it until you experience it yourself. And he's like, no, like it stopped you from dreaming. I was like, what? But like, I got to try this. So, and it doesn't happen the first day either. It takes about 5 to 7 days, especially if you're a consistent smoker, for it to really like go into effect. But I remember I just woke up. It was like the craziest dream I ever had in my entire life. I was like, oh my gosh, what that? He was right. Like, this is crazy. I've been clean now for about 5 weeks from that 18-month spree. And I feel, you know, it's funny, personally speaking, I don't necessarily feel any different. Like, I don't see it as like, you know, I'm better off without that substance. Because, I mean, I think there was benefit in it. But, like, there are aspects of my life where I do notice. Like, for me, it was kind of like a dependency thing.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of anxiety about, like, you know, when you're addicted to a substance, it's like having that thing at your disposal right there. That gives you anxiety, you know, how I smelled and stuff like that. I mean, I touched on episode 12, but like, no, smoking is for some people, smoking isn't for others, you know, like Wiz Khalifa's a big proponent and it does really well for him. Right. So, I mean, who am I to hate?
Yeah. I can also touch on that too, because I used to always have a dependency on it too. And I mean, I still do it like every once in a while, but I definitely, like when I take the breaks, like I'll have these dreams and like the next day it'll be to the point where I think they were real. Yeah. And I'll be like waking up, like I'll be just thinking like the craziest shit just happened.
You're like, bro, I just got fucked in the ass. Like what? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no. Oh, and you had a question about supplements and testosterone. What was that?
So we were talking about like you're talking about magnesium, zinc, D3, stuff like that. So like, what are the best like vitamins for like, I guess for naturals who are trying to get big?
Okay, so those are the top 3 for sure, and those are just supplements that, you know, your body needs to create more testosterone. But then there's also other things that you can try to increase it. I think boron is something that increases the amount of free testosterone that you have. I have not tried it, so I can't recommend it. But there's certain plants like Gotu Kola and Fadoja. Derek, More Plates, More Days has a long video on them that they like, I don't know what they do, but they increase your testosterone. But it's not like your body is missing these things. They kind of help, and they're natural. But so other than that, your diet is really important for your testosterone. And something I think not a lot of people know about is, man, there's some crazy statistic, like 60% of people are pre-diabetic because we have a diet that's so high in sugars that, you know, people's blood sugars are, they're just spiking and falling and spiking and falling and spiking and falling. And their insulin may be a little too high. And if you're in this pre-diabetic state where, and you know you're there if when you like eat a heavy carb meal, you're tired afterwards. Yep. If you don't eat for a while, you get hangry. If you have to eat every few hours to have good brain performance, that's where I was. It was really bad. I think bodybuilders fall into it a lot because we eat a lot of carbs. That constant spike and fall in insulin, that pre-diabetic state, will mess with your hormones. And I was looking into a study recently of a couple natural like vitamins, like vitamin B8 and inositol, and then there's another one that basically helps with your insulin sensitivity. And what they found was when people took these vitamins that helped with your insulin sensitivity, their testosterone went up, their estrogen went down, and their insulin sensitivity improved. Mm-hmm. And so you know, that's another thing. If you feel like carbs can be a big issue for you, maybe looking into taking inositol, maybe like a couple grams a day. That's a B vitamin, and I can't remember the other one, but that could also help.
A lot of them are actually, they're called glucose disposal agents, GDAs.
Is metformin one of those? I'm not sure. You know metformin?
Possibly.
Anyway, go ahead.
But like, I think a lot of the constituents that you're talking about are actually in compounds like that, which actually help regulate blood sugar. You know, and okay, I'm just gonna put this out there too. Like, I am not a proponent for this. I think there are way more cons than there are pros. But like thinking about the ketogenic diet, I know there's a lot of individuals that actually use that for cognitive performance. One, because you know you're not having these insulin spikes, and two, it actually like. Inevitably it's going to decrease your insulin sensitivity as well because like, your limitation of carbs, like carbs are good for you. Like there's no question about that. And you have glucose in the brain too. It's not like it's non-existent, but just in high quantities, that's where it really becomes an issue.
Yeah. I actually got a question for you.
Go ahead.
So do you think there's a difference between like 300 grams of good carbs versus bad carbs? Like, do you think if you eat more like whole foods?
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, like if you're having 300 grams of like sugar versus maybe like 300 grams of, you know, a complex carb, or like a rice, or if you're having like, you know, a mix of like vegetables and beans and all that different stuff. Those have vitamins in them where sugar is kind of very pure. I'm not saying never have sugar. I love sugar. It's so great. Yeah. But I've actually been doing keto for a while. So if you want to, we can touch on that too, because I've learned quite a bit. I would say the most, there's two things that sugar does that I've learned are bad for you. One, it causes that spike of glucose, and that spike comes with a subsequent drop. If you want to prevent that, get some fiber in when you're having something sugary. that will help kind of stabilize your blood sugar levels. The second one, and I didn't know this, is that there's this thing called glycation. I don't know if you guys have heard of glycation. I've never heard of it.
Is it a process that happens?
I took a nutrition class. That's the only reason I know.
Dude, I've never heard of this. But basically, it's when glucose enters your body. I believe it attaches to proteins and denatures them. It breaks them down. And so I've had like really bad tendon problems for a while, and I had a feeling that it was partially due to my like blood sugar levels spiking up and down. But anyway, get some fiber in there. And yeah, we can talk about keto too. I've experimented with it just to kind of help with my response. And there are a lot of benefits. I have some opinions.
Now, okay, so, working in the supplement field, working in a consulting role, what I noticed was a lot of people that would come into the shop. By the way, people, I worked at 5-Star Nutrition. They do health and wellness consulting. They offer free in-body scans. They do nutrition guidance. It actually is really good for anybody trying to start in their fitness, because instead of going out searching for a lot of knowledge, you can get all the knowledge for you in one-stop shop in like 30 minutes, which is actually like super helpful. But anyways, I'd have a lot of overweight individuals come in the store saying they're doing the ketogenic diet. They just started, and obviously they're failcomings into that. But like, I was trying to explain to them in essence, and I think I figured out the formula for why, of like, they talk about how you're going to drop 15 pounds, like really, really fast. Right. And so think about, like glucose, right? And a lot of it actually does help with water retention in some light. And so what happens is when you decrease glucose or glycogen in the body, I mean, you're losing an insane amount of water. And that's why when you rebound, right, you eat all these carbs again, it's really just water retention. So like in reality, it's not like, yeah, you are going to drop 15 pounds fast, but it's not the pounds that you want to lose, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, that's right. Like when you take the carbs out, I lost 10 pounds. I went from 192 to 181 pounds, and it was just water. I mean, I lost a little bit of mass because, maybe I wasn't going as hard in the gym, but I lost a ton of water. I came back, I broke my keto, and I put on like 4 pounds in the first day. It was just the carbs and the water. But there's two models of fat loss. There's like, you have the bodybuilder, calories in, calories out. And then there are some doctors that like to talk about the carb insulin model of fat loss. And for what they're saying is calories in, calories out is your body is a thermodynamic machine.
Yep.
If you want to lose weight, you need to eat less than you burn, and then your body's going to start burning fat. Then the carb insulin model states that if you stabilize and lower your insulin levels, then you'll start to be more efficient at fat burning and you'll burn more fat. We've seen the calories in, calories out method work for decades. Yeah. Bodybuilders do it all the time. So I could not imagine for the life of me why people are saying this. It's all these doctors too. I think what it is, there's a couple things. One, if you go on a low-carb ketogenic diet, you do increase the amount of fat that your body uses per energy. That being said, you still need to burn the energy, right? The second thing is it could increase your metabolism. So the calories out part of the equation could go up a little bit by speeding up the metabolism. And 3, you get less hungry when you're having less insulin spikes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it makes it easier to get less calories in. So I think they're actually more similar than we think that they are. But at the end of the day, it is calories in, calories out.
It is. And another big factor of that, are you familiar with the term NEAT? It's like non-exercise activity. I want to say the T is thermogenesis, or I don't know what that actually stands for. In essence, what it does, it equates for all the activity that you're doing outside of like dedicating time towards burning calories, right? So an example would be like, a construction worker is obviously going to burn more calories than an insurance agent, right? And so the more that you can increase that, like you'll see a lot of people when they work active jobs, like they are substantially leaner and their physiques are so much better because they're actually they're burning more calories, but they're becoming more efficient with those calories too. Like, yeah, they might need 4,000 calories to actually gain weight because they're burning, 2,000 and plus with their metabolic rate, another 1,800. But like, regardless, the physique's going to look better. Like I always say, I told one guy one time, I was like, yo, you'd rather be in the position of like you're burnt or the difference is like, okay, a person that's really active, right? May eat 4,000 calories and it's a 500 calorie surplus for them, right? Versus an insurance agent that eats 3,500 and he's burning 3,000 calories. That physique is going to look completely different, even though they're in the same exact surplus.
Yeah. I mean, I think most people recommend that too. It's like, just exercise more. You can eat a little bit more your metabolism works a little bit better. You'll feel a little bit better rather than just, and you know, I've been learning about this recently. If you're just like cutting your calories down and you're not increasing your cardio, your metabolism adapts and slows down.
Yep.
Like that sucks. Now you're eating like 1,500 calories and your metabolism slows down versus if you do a little bit of cardio, your metabolism stays high because you're eating more, you know, then you can lose weight off of, you know, maybe 500 to 1,000 more calories just before. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, we can all agree that downregulation is not a good thing. And I know I've seen on your TikToks too, you know, you talk about like, yo, the reason I work out is so I can eat a fucking cheeseburger. Like there's some truth to that for sure. No, ask the question about the pre-workout. I want to hear this.
Oh yeah. So I saw you make your own pre-workout. So what do you think are the benefits of that? And like, what are the best ingredients for that?
The benefits are it's mad cheap, you know, and you know what you're getting. So like, it's fun to buy pre-workout. Like every once in a while, I'll probably go get a tub of pre-workout. You know, they get some great ingredients in there. But you know, sometimes like I don't want 350 milligrams of caffeine to the dome. I just want a pump. You know, so the benefits are 1, it's cheaper. 2, I know what I'm putting in my body. 3, if I'm lifting at night, for example, I can still get a good pump and not take the caffeine. Or, for example, if I am tired, I can take a caffeine pill and I don't have to like waste my pre-workout.
Dude, this side note, this has been like one of the most motherfucking educational podcasts I think we've ever had. I literally knew it was going to happen.
Oh, this is a great conversation.
And dude, you are so knowledgeable in the realm of supplements, the body at large, you know, body chemistry, how different, like, what do I even want to call it? Habits that you make impact you on a day-to-day basis. What I'm curious about, and I asked you this in the break, was like, what is the correlation? Because I think a lot of people dissociate the physical side from the mental side a lot, but there is a great correlation there, right? Because I know you know neurochemistry. Like, what do you believe is the correlation between like physical and mental health?
How well your brain works is going to impact how well your body works. How well your body works impacts how well your brain is going to work. On top of that, you know, even mindset, how your mindset is can impact your body too. Yes. So it's not just like, you know, you're eating well, your mental health is good, and you know, your body works better. It's like literally if you feel like you're going to go into the gym and you're going to kill it, you will be stronger. Mm-hmm. If you feel like, like, you know, I like don't want to go, I don't want to do this, like you will be weaker. Yeah. It's kind of something I notice nowadays. I don't know if you guys probably feel the same way because you guys, you know, want to be successful and you work hard. But there's like this big push in this generation nowadays to say like, oh, I'm sick. Oh, I'm weak. Oh, I'm this. Like, and it's easy to fall into that. I definitely did for a while. And then you just feel yourself get weaker. You feel yourself get like, you know, make less progress. And then at a certain point, I was like, man, I'm so tired of this. Like, why do I want to be like everybody else saying they're weak, saying they're sick? Like, no, I'm strong. I'm going to be really healthy. I have a drive. Like, I am going to be the best that I can be. And then I've just that mindset switch changed my physical health.
It's all about mindset because, like, if you're telling yourself that you can't do it, then you're just bringing your body down. It's not going to want to do it if you don't want to.
Exactly.
Right. In those moments where you do, I call it kicking the bitch out of you. Like, when you do kick the bitch out of you, you feel so good. So yesterday we touched on the podcast, like, you know, one thing that I think, at least I deal with, I know you've dealt with in the past, I mean, even to an extent you might have dealt with this, is like filming in the gym sometimes can bring a lot of anxiety on. And in those instances where you tell yourself before the gym, like, hey, I'm going to go in the gym, I'm going to record this workout or what, you know, whatever your game plan is, and then you don't do it, right? You literally feel like a piece of shit. And then, but if you were in the middle of that to say like, you know, even if the first half you didn't do it, but the second half you're like, get the courage, dude, you got this. Like, just do it because nobody cares. Like, that's when you actually feel good about yourself too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, you know, you go in the gym, like, oh, there's people looking at me, like I'm going to look like a clown, like setting this up and taking the video. And then you feel bad when you leave. Like, I cannot believe I just let my own mind prevent me from going and like being successful. Like, do you think people that go out and like they're getting hundreds of views, hundreds of thousands of views, like care about what other people think of them? No. And these people don't care about what you're doing. But then when you go in, you tell yourself, I'm going to do it this time. And then you actually do it. It feels great. Yeah. And then you want to do more. Mm-hmm. It's like a positive feedback loop, pushing yourself to be stronger. I have a friend who he is in the military and he's a big fan of David Goggins and those types. And he told me something that I never forgot. It's the idea of callousing the mind. So like we get calluses on our hands when we work out, our hands get stronger and tougher. He said the mind is a similar thing. You do harder things with your brain becomes stronger.
Yo, that's a real. Damn. I do believe that anybody that sees success in their own physique does a really good job of not comparing themselves to others. Because when you find yourself comparing yourself to others, in that moment, you're not doing anything productive for yourself, right? And obviously, you stuck to a grind in a lot of different modalities through your education, through your nutrition, through your fitness at large, right? How, for you specifically, have you avoided? I mean, everybody falls victim to comparison from time to time, but like, how for you have you avoided that?
Man, they say comparison is the thief of joy, right? Like you look at somebody. I mean, it's so easy for us. We're always looking at ourselves like we're not big enough. We see somebody bigger than us. I would say comparison is a good thing because it gives you drive. So like, for example, I'm lifting in a gym right now where there are not many people. I'm the biggest person in the gym. And it's like, I don't really like that because I feel like comparatively, I'm bigger than everybody. I don't really have a drive to get any bigger. Whereas if I like go to Vasa, for example, there's some yoked guys in there. It's like, oh, I want to be like that. I got to push myself a little bit harder. So I think if you look at comparison in a positive light, it can be motivating, but then there's also people that let it poison them. Like, oh, they're bigger than me. Like he's on steroids. Oh, he's bigger than me. Whatever. I'm so small. Like, again, it's a mindset thing. You just need to be using it positively.
Is self-talk a big thing for you?
Yeah, definitely.
What kind of, how do I want to call this? I guess like advice do you have in terms of self-talk? Because a lot of what you're talking about is the mindset, right? Like what is your mindset when you're like going to the gym and like, what self-talk wise, like what do you tell yourself to keep yourself upbeat and stay on a consistent path towards like success? Towards your goals, I should say.
So like when I'm going in the gym, you mean?
Yes. And also even outside of the gym though, because I mean, 80% of the battle in fitness is mental, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So self-talk in terms of going to the gym, I mean, it's really, I need to have a goal in mind. Like, hey, I want to go push this a little bit harder, or I want to go get a pump, or I need to work out, so I can get a good, mental push. Really the biggest time that self-talk comes in is when I really don't want to go into the gym. And it's like, what do I tell myself? So there's like a few things that I've kind of learned that helps me. One, motivational videos help a lot. Like, I don't know. They really do. You just get hyped to go. You see like, I don't know, these big bodybuilders just pushing it. They're like, you don't want it like I want it. Like, you'll never be like me. And it's like, yeah, I will be like you.
Fuck you.
Yeah. It helps a lot. Motivational videos. Two, one of the things I try to tell myself if I don't want to go to the gym is, all right, I'm going to go in, I'm going to hit a 30-minute lift. I'm going to go like 50%, and I'm just going to get the blood pumping. Sometimes I go into the gym, and that's really what I do. I just have a 50% lift. I leave, but at least I kept the ball rolling. It's good. And sometimes I start to get in the groove, and then I'm rolling, I don't know, man. I'm a very introspective person, so I try to keep my self-talk as positive as I can, because really your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So if you're telling yourself, like, I'm a bad person, I'm not going to be successful, like, you will act like that. Your world is going to be like that. You tell yourself, like, I'm a good person. I want to help people. I want to do the best that I can for everybody, and that's why I need to work hard. You'll do that as well. At the same time, you got to be humble, but, that positive self-talk can really help you reach your goals.
A lot of what you talked about is like, I think about environments a lot. Environments are very key to your success. And so like, you're talking about the gym that you're at now, like the environment that you're in is not one that promotes the goals that you want necessarily, versus like when you go to Vasa, it's a totally different scenario. So in an ideal world for you, what is the environment you want to be in? And like, who are the people that you want to surround yourself with?
Oh, I mean, that's a great question. I would love to surround myself with, people like me that are really driven. They want to be successful. They want to work hard. They value a hard work ethic. And they're goal oriented, and they really want to help people. Like, I just love having conversations like that. It's so inspiring. Whereas you meet somebody who's like, yeah, like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to just like watch TV all day and like eat food. And it's like, you are the product of the people you surround yourself with. So like, I want to be successful. I want to help people. I want to be around people that are successful, or that want to be successful, want to help people, have that work ethic.
Word to the wise of the audience. Surround yourself with people that are literally, like, I just like to say better than you, at least in something, right? Like we talked about on one podcast where it was like, yo, go to humble yourself, go work out with somebody that's literally just an absolute stud. Yeah. Like, they don't give a fuck. They will just torture their body in the gym, and they're going to drag you along with it. They don't even give a fuck. Like, those are the type of people that you want to surround yourself with, but in every aspect of your health, your financial, your spiritual, emotional, like all of those different things. You need people for all of those that are going to encompass all those different things.
Yeah, definitely.
It's facts. What are some other questions? Yo, you got any other? I know you got questions on there.
Yeah. Do you think legs actually raise testosterone, like in your experience?
Okay, I don't think it's as extreme as it kind of sounds. I've kind of thought about it because I'm like, okay, you know, is it so extreme that if I work out legs and then I hit shoulders, like my shoulders are gonna go crazy because my test is so high? I think what it is I think working out raises your test, and because your legs are half of your body, it's just a bigger part of your body, you know, and that's what I think it is. But I don't think it's like very extreme compared to like, you know, an upper body versus doing legs is like 500% more test. I don't think it's like that.
Okay.
I'm curious about, well, because I mean, obviously, you know, we both went to Purdue, and like I know how difficult it is. I know you touched on it a little bit, but it's just like my question, because I definitely had a lot of periods when I was in school where, like, you know, fitness comes in phases is what I like to say. And so, you know, you'll have points where you do really, really well, and you'll have other points where you don't do nearly as well. And for you, you were able to stay, I mean, you said for a whole entire year, you stayed like pretty dialed in, especially in the nutrition. Like, I don't like how, I guess for the people out there, because I know there's a lot of people that, you know, either they like, you know, they work a job and maybe they have a side hustle they want to work on, or their fitness or whatever, and they just don't do it, right? Like, what is your word to the wise for those type of people?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a great quote. Fitness does come in phases. Like, honestly, right now, I'm in one of my downwards phases. It just happens. Like, you know, you kind of fall out of it for a little bit, and then you're like, all right, I got to get back into it. Then you hit a really good streak, and you make some good gains, and you kind of fall out of it for a little bit, and you get back into it. You know, it's normal. Don't beat yourself up. You know, if you're falling into like a bad streak, and then you start beating yourself up, oh, I'm so dumb, I'm so lazy, I'm so this, like, you know, try to be a little more supportive of yourself. Like, hey, I just need some time to take a break, but I'm going to come back stronger. And then, you know, maybe make a plan. You know, okay, I want to walk a little bit. I want to just go do a little bit of curls, a little bit of arms, a little bit of something, and then just slowly progress yourself into harder and harder workouts until you're fully back in there. I think the progression is important.
Mm-hmm. Okay, shout out. Before we got on the podcast, while we were in the car, I was driving you over here. We talked about obviously, hey, the new job you got coming up in what is it, June or July?
July, yeah.
Dude, it's insane. Do you want to talk about that really quick, or what you can disclose?
Yeah, sure.
Top secret.
I mean, it's I haven't started yet, so I don't know too much, but I'll be doing aerospace sales, which will be really cool. You know, I'm very excited to, you know, start making some of my own money. Like, what I'm really excited for is just to like be on my own. I feel like I'm kind of an introvert, low key. Like, I like being on my own, just having a bunch of time to myself, just to do whatever I want, make my money, go work out, go, you know, play sports, go research different things, you know, maybe make content. You know, I like, you know, being dependent or self, not depending on anybody else. So, you know, I'm really excited to go do that, kind of push myself to a new level where I don't rely on anybody. I'm really just trying to focus on the grind a little bit more. Yeah. Callous my mind a little bit more, you know, so I'm really excited about that.
And another thing that we talked about too was like your fitness content, because it actually is insane. You know, that's a part of the reason that we all even know each other, right? And so, you know, obviously, you know, you're going to be working a job. Like, personally, you know, I work full time doing sales in a different industry. But, you know, I've made a commitment to myself to keep on continuing with this podcast and make this channel grow. Because I think there's value in that. You know, it's like, I want to tell these messages, or I want to give the opportunity to people like you to showcase these messages, because these are very valuable conversations, and you don't know who could hear this that's actually going to be like motivated, inspired to literally change their life. Like, I think about, like, for me, it was like Christian Guzman. Like, that dude, if he wouldn't have posted that stuff, I probably wouldn't be here today, you know? So that's how I think of it. I'm like, I have to do this if I want to give somebody that opportunity, and long term I want to inspire, right? But I'm curious about long term for you in the content space. Like, you know, we talked about it a little bit. You know, I was like, would you want to make like fitness a profession at some point, right? And I mean, you were like, yeah, I mean, dude, that was an option. Like, fuck yeah, you know, I think everybody says that, right? But like, for you in real time, how would you make that happen?
You know, I tried going down the informational route, and it's just like, I don't know, we're going to keep experimenting. I think TikTok is a really great place to do it. They have a great algorithm. And, you know, at this point, I've stopped trying to post to, you know, make it pop off. I'm just kind of posting to like learn and you know, increase my presentation abilities. So that's kind of the avenue that I want to do it. But, you know, I'm not stressing too much about it. I'm just trying to like get consistent with how I edit videos, you know, kind of just learn that skill of content creation.
Right. Who is your audience? so to speak, or long term? Because I do believe, like I said, I'm in sales, I'm in a dealership, and I do very much believe that we are the ones that bring in the clientele that we do for a reason, right? And and in the spot of this dealership that I work at now is like, it's a newer dealership, and so obviously there's some growth factor, and some of the clientele isn't the cream of the crop by any means. And I was like, that's a result of our business model. There are things that we can change within our business model to get the clientele that we want, right? So long term, like, that's going to be a result of the content that you push, right? Now, who is that ideal audience for Parsa?
Man, I keep thinking about like that kid that was like, dude, the like small skinny guy that just wanted to be big, wanted to feel seen. And that is kind of who I want to inspire. Is like, hey, we live in a world right now where you have all the knowledge in the world at your fingertips, right? You got to use that to your advantage, and you want to create a positive change. We're dealing at a time where mental health issues are at an all-time high. People are struggling, and one of the noblest things you can aspire to do is to build your body and build your mind up to a point where you can be a successful individual that is loving, has good relationships, helps people out, just brings more good into the world. So for me, my audience would be, those people that want to start that journey. Because it is a journey, it's like, you don't just go to the gym. It's like your lifestyle,
Yes.
You completely change everything about your life, the way that you think. So it would really be kind of like those younger guys or even older guys, because you can start late and still get really big into the, really big, and the people that want to start and need the knowledge, and want to get to where they want to go faster. That's kind of the people that I want to help.
Okay. One thing that keeps popping into my mind is, a topic that you've touched on a little bit here, which is mental health, right? And it's been throughout the conversation, but like, I think some of the answers might be obvious, but for you, why do you think mental health is at an all-time low right now? Like, any of the factors that you believe that contribute to that?
Yeah. So, definitely your mental health is hereditary. So, I think now we all know it's not something that people make up. Your mental health is a very real thing. And if somebody, say, has trauma, it passes down through generations. If somebody is deficient in certain things that make your brain not work as well, that passes down. If somebody has like a condition, like an autoimmune condition, or they have some sort of condition, that passes down. So I think what's happened is it's compounded. The quality of our food is getting worse.
Yep.
Our soil is not as nutrient rich. We are living in a high stress time with like a lot of media that just wants to grab your attention, and we're not exercising as much. We're not forming as many good, happy relationships. All these things compound together. In my opinion, mental health or poor mental health is a combination of a few things. One is any trauma you go through in your life.
Yep.
Everybody goes through trauma, and I would suggest everybody goes to therapy. It's like getting a mental health coach, or somebody like a success coach, right? They're the expert on the brain, and they can help you figure out your brain. The second thing is your physiology. So are you deficient in anything? Do you have too much of something? Like, do you have a food sensitivity that may make you, like for me, like for a while, like I would eat rice, and rice would give me really bad brain fog. I didn't realize it was rice, and then I kind of cut it out, and then I got a little bit better. And then the last thing is obviously your lifestyle.
So because you're a problem solver by nature, obviously being an engineer, you are. So you established what the problem is, right? And now it seems like you gave some solutions there. So just so I can clarify, especially for the audience too, because I think this is super, super valuable, because I know there's a lot of people out there dealing with mental health issues, and it's something we've touched on the podcast a lot, solution wise, right? At least in your opinion. And I do think these, a lot of people are going to say the same message, which is good. A fucking mental health coach, get therapy, folks. Like, even if you're not dealing with something like very traumatic, there's still benefit that you're going to have. What is that? There's even like online platforms nowadays that are actually really good. I actually applied for one. I was just kind of curious to see like what all they offered and stuff like that. And it's an investment. That's what it is, because it's not cheap either. But if you're going to spend whatever that money is, we'll call it $300 a month, right? If you're going to spend $300 a month, you're going to get something out of it, or really you're going to get out of it what you put in. So if you're going to do something like that, you got to make sure you do your due diligence and actually like pour yourself out there,
Yeah. And on that note, like, you may not find the right therapist the first time.
Yep.
So like, if you find somebody that you don't vibe with, go try to find another one. Don't give up, because when you do find that person that really meshes with you, like, you will not believe the change that it will make in your life. But keep going, yeah.
Yeah, and so that was one aspect of the solution, right? Because it's never going to be one answer. You know, there are different aspects of your life, like you talked about environment, right? Which is like the trauma that you deal with, and that's where therapy comes into the mix, right? The second is just your overall physical health and well-being, right? And that's where you need to take a deep look into your nutrition and overall health. So what are the solutions there in terms of proactive measures that individuals can take to try to like solve those issues?
I think this is going to get really big in the future. We're going to start looking at mental health in terms of like what foods we eat, what vitamins we are or are not taking, what do we have too high of a blood level of or too low of a blood level of. I think the biggest thing that has impacted my mental health is in terms of like it is food sensitivities. Like I was saying, like rice gave me really bad brain fog, and it was to the point where like I literally could not study, and then I would stop eating it for a while, and my brain was sharper again. So if you feel like you have brain fog where your like performance some days is really good, some days is really bad. First of all, is your sleep optimized? Are you exercising? You know, are you drinking enough water? But pay attention to the foods that you eat. Is there like, do you notice that maybe if you have cheese or maybe if you have certain grains or maybe if you have a certain meat or eggs, for example, maybe like some vegetables, is there something or a combination of things that makes your brain fog worse when you eat it? If you can figure it out, try eating it again, see how you feel a couple days out. And then if you can find that thing and take it out, I promise you, your quality of life will get better. I think this is a really big thing that a lot of people are not looking at right now. And you can actually do blood tests for this at the moment. But
You got any good ones, by the way?
Blood tests.
Yeah. Do you just go to like a doctor or like, what do you do?
That's the thing is like, so there are IgG and IgE tests. One, I can't remember which one is which, but one of them is like an allergy test. Like you have an actual allergy, and the other one is a food sensitivity test. And a lot of doctors nowadays will say that's kind of like hoo-ha. It's not like real. Probably the best test you can do for food sensitivity is a Cyrex test. Basically goes through any food that you can eat, meats, grains, dairy, vegetables, vitamins, food coloring, all these different things. Some of them cooked, some of them not cooked. What it does is it checks your body's response to like that enzyme. And it'll tell you how sensitive you are. Like there's like green, you can eat it, you're fine. Yellow, like you're getting to be sensitive. And red, like you need to look out for this. It may not affect you badly, but maybe this food could give you some issues with your health. So it's called a Cyrex test. But I don't know if you could go to a doctor and get it because they still kind of think it's some pseudoscience. But in the future, I'm sure we'll pick up.
You know, I just like to think knowledge is power at the end of the day, right? And so, you know, you talked about it earlier, you know, literally all knowledge is at the disposal, like at your fingertips, right? But, you know, all the knowledge is out there, but there are people that just don't listen to it either. And I always think like, you know, I used to write down like, you know, what my life goals were. And literally the number one goal that I wrote down was awareness. Like I wanted to be aware at all given times. And so I don't know what your opinion on awareness is at all, but like, I do believe it's a skill set that you gain over time by like working on yourself. And you have to be aware of like the different things that you're doing. Like to have awareness in your health means like, you know, you're actually paying attention to the things that you eat and realizing that you have brain fog, right? But that does take mental energy and fortitude. So what do you think are ways that individuals can like try to gain that skill set of awareness?
It starts off just a little bit at a time. Just knowing that you can be aware about these things help. So like, for example, someone who is, let's say in a narcissistic codependent relationship is not aware of what that is. And then they learn about it. Now they're aware of it. They gain so, you know, kind of learning about these things. The second thing, that if you just want to increase your general awareness about like your mind and your body, I really do recommend meditating. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a difficult thing to do. Like 5 minutes a day, if that's all you can do, it's fine. 10 minutes a day. I didn't know how to meditate when I started. So what I would do is I'd go on YouTube and I'd look up 5-minute guided meditation, 10-minute guided meditation, 15-minute guided meditation. You pop your earphones in, you sit down, close your eyes, and it tells you what to do. It walks you through it. And then at the end of it, you're just a little more clear-headed. You have a little more control over your mind. You're a little more aware of how you react to certain things. So meditation, it's if you just do it once, it's not really, not going to help as much as like the gym if you do it 30 days in a row. Would definitely recommend that. Yeah,
and the guided ones first and foremost are definitely good. I utilize an app called Urban Yogi, and in essence, it's a plethora of a variety of different guided meditations. But another thing is, so my mom, she's actually something called an Ayurvedic practitioner. So focusing in on holistic medicine, and I literally can't remember for the life of me. She has a specific specialization in like this practice of like healing the body. And so what she does in essence is like literally, like, it sounds spiritual as fuck, but like I had the experience myself, and I really do believe like it actually works, as long as like, you know, you yourself believe in it too. That's another big thing. But in essence, it was like I laid down in like almost like a massage chair, okay? And all she did was like, well, at least she could do this. So the legal practice Indiana-wise, you're actually not allowed to put your hands on people. But like, since it was like not real, mom. Yeah, it's my mom, so it's cool. But she would like put her hands in a given area, and it wasn't the fact that she was like giving me energy. It was her having me bring my awareness to that area to actually heal myself. It was like a self-healing practice. And by the end of it, you know, when you finish those meditation sessions, if you go really hard, you almost like tingly. Like, it's like this like euphoric sensation. Like, that was literally by the end what I was feeling. And the crazy shit about it too was that by the end, I was having like this weird like knee ache and pain. And I didn't tell her anything about, you know, my given health conditions or anything like that. She's like, yo, what's up with your right knee? I sat there, I was like, what the fuck? Did you just read my mind? Like, what the hell just happened? So that's another aspect of meditation that I think is really good, that in like holistic medicine at large is like really good. So there's two sides of the medical field. There's the holistic side and there's the allopathic side. So allopathic refers to modern medicine, at which we think of now, right? So that is like, you go to the doctor, you know, they're going to diagnose you with something, and they're going to give you a medication, right? And obviously we know there are flaws within that, right? But holistic medicine, think of it like health is like 7 steps almost. So like that's the 7th step only. And there's value to that, because like, you know, like we wouldn't be able to solve problems like cancer these days if modern medicine hadn't developed in that area. But there's preventative measures that we can also take too, right? And that's where holistic medicine comes into the picture of like, you know, first, you know, self-awareness, diagnosing yourself and figuring out what different things that you can do in your life, like lifestyle wise, to actually change the trajectory at which you're headed, right? Do you focus at all on holistic medicine? Like, do you follow the practice? I mean, I'm not saying like, you know, you're a wizard at it at all, but like, I think a lot of what you talk about lies within holistic medicine. Oh boy, that's a cramp.
I just got a hamstring cramp.
Oh boy. Oh, I can see it too, dude. It's just pulsating. Holy shit, dude, your legs are insane.
Thanks.
But no, like what you've talked about a lot is like the practice of holistic medicine, at least in some regard, in terms to like, you know, changing diet habits and stuff. Do you follow the practice at all?
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of like learning both sides of every spectrum, whether that's politically. I think you gain a lot of value by seeing what other people have to say. So, you know, I learned a lot about, you know, doctors and the problems they solve. There's a lot of problems they can't solve. And then, so what's this other side of the spectrum? There are these functional medicine, holistic medicine. They can solve a lot of problems that the doctors can't solve, and maybe there are some things they can't solve. I think there's a lot of value in learning what they have to say. And just like from a logic point of view, you know, you get sick, your body is not missing ibuprofen, or it's not missing an antibiotic. It's missing maybe a probiotic or a prebiotic, or it's missing some sort of vitamin. That's the reason you got sick, because the optimal body is not sick. Excuse me. And so you would think that you would have to give your body what it actually needs instead of putting a Band-Aid on it. That being said, like regular medicine is great. It's helped so many things, but you know, there's preventative medicine is another side of the story that we need to look at.
Right. I will say, because I've now had, you know, I've seen real life experience of like individuals, because there's a con to holistic medicine as well. And that con is the individuals that solely believe in holistic medicine, in essence, shoot themselves in the foot. Because, you know, when you get to that scenario where you do fall on that, we'll call it that stage 7, right? Where you're at a point where you just fucked up, you know, all of us fuck up, right? And you think you're going to be able to solve this through herbal means. Like, I'm sorry, you're not. And like, I think about like, hey, yo, if I got like a chest infection or something like that, right? You know, I could drink my herbal tea and I could do that and I'll get better. Like, don't get me wrong. Well, I might not, you never know. But instead I could just go take prednisone and I'll be better in like 3 days, right? So like, that is the pro to the allopathic medicine. But I think too many people just focus on that side and don't give enough attention to holistic. So you need, like, it's all encompassing. Like that encompasses all of health, holistic and allopathic medicine. So you have to have information and knowledge in both of those realms to be successful in your overall general health.
Yeah, definitely. And like, if you think about holistic medicine, like you're talking about Ayurvedic medicine.
Yeah, the Ayurvedic practice.
That's like been going on for what, thousands of years?
That is the first medical system.
Right. So like, if you think about it, if this didn't work, if it had zero value for it, they would have found something that had a little bit more value than that. So like, I'm not saying that, you know, maybe everything is correct or it's incorrect, but for something to stay around for so long, it must have some benefits, some knowledge that they picked up, and we shouldn't be pushing that away. Unfortunately, we see a lot of like people in academia or like doctors, for example, they kind of get settled in their ways and they think they're always right about everything, and they don't even keep up with the new research. It's like, are you kidding me? You took a college class. I mean, no, doctors study really hard, but you should always like keep up with the new research and want to open your mind, because your number one goal is to help your patients.
I view academia as like the equivalent of allopathic medicine. Like, you know, there's like professors in economics, right? And they're going to be speaking on, you know, the latest and greatest in that field, and, you know, having a broader perspective on things and keep pushing the needle, right? Whereas the people that are actually, you know, in the stock market and stuff like that, those are like the holistic medicine side, because those are the people that are actually like in the trenches, actually like practicing what's going on. So like you said, you know, and I'm curious what your opinions on college are in general. But also, like, you know, you have to have a good fine balance of both of those things, real life practical experience, as well as like obtaining more like newfound knowledge that's going in the path of like growth, so to speak.
Yeah.
Pushing the needle. Well, yeah. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I'm curious for both of you guys, because I know you have your opinions on college. I mean, both of us have college degrees. What is your opinion on academia at large?
Yeah, I thought you said collagen at first, and I was like, oh, we can talk about this.
Collagen?
Yeah. And if you want, at some point, we can talk about gut health too, because that is super important as well.
Yes.
College, I think it's really expensive. So if you can't afford it, you know, that's one thing. But what I think is the best thing about college is that it helps you discover who you are, what you like. You really need to use that time to seek out really, really good people. I was lucky. I got with a friend group that was very intelligent and pushed me to work out harder and pushed me to be a better person. I discovered a lot about myself, who I am, what do I want to do, what are my values, how do I want to treat people. That, honestly, I would say is one of the biggest things about college. You're in a community with so many people your age, you know, and then obviously you're sharpening your mind with school. It teaches you work ethic. You know, so I think it's a good thing. I think it's really expensive. So I would never fault anybody for not wanting to go, but I think there's a lot of benefits to it.
Right. And I always think of like college as an experience, and you can't take back experiences. And like you said, you know, you're going to get what you put in, right? You know, I'm on the same spectrum of you as I like found a really good friend group that pushed me in ways that I had never really thought of. Very smart individuals in their own regard, right? And I don't think I would be the person that I am today without them. But I know there's a lot of people that, you know, have anxiety about, you know, trying to reach out to new people and really like envelop themselves in the experience. So I think that's where those type of people, those are the people that say fuck college, that went there and got a degree, and you just shot yourself in the foot. Like, that's your fault, you know? But what's your opinion? Because you're in college still. What's your opinion on college as of current?
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I'm gonna try and stick it through because I'm on scholarship, academically. So I mean, I might as well try and get a degree if it's free. But like, I feel like,
shout out.
But yeah, I feel like it's been kind of beneficial for me, like just like with the way he said, the work ethic wise, and I feel like some of the classes have actually like translated into my real life, like developing my communication skills and stuff like that. I think it depends on the person, but I definitely want to get to a point where I don't need college, but at the same time, I'm trying to stick it through because I might as well if I have the resources. No,
absolutely. It's like, and that's the other thing. It's like, you know, that's your main hustle when you're in education, but also you need to be working on a side hustle. Because I know there's a lot of people that are just like, yeah, fuck college. I'm just going to blow up on Instagram and be a fitness guru. And it's like, yeah, sorry, it's probably not going to work that way.
And some people do it, but like most people don't.
Right. You have to have the mental fortitude and discipline to actually do that. I mean, if you're going to do that, sorry, not sorry, you need to sit down 60 hours a week and work on that shit, or else like you're going nowhere. Right. So in the meantime, at least, you know, for you, I think about you, right? If InspoCast takes off, right, in 6 months and it becomes a full-fledged business, it's actually, you know, real value, then now you've put yourself in an opportunity to where college doesn't have to be a thing. But I think some people, they just like drop out and don't have a plan. And that's where you're just fucked. You know, it's like, dude, you probably should have actually worked on something before you did this, because guess what? You had that time. You just didn't use it effectively. So that was just kind of a random side bit. I also feel bad. So I'm local. I've lived here 23 years of my life, and, I got a chance to go to Purdue University, and like, I was fortunate because I was on like a scholarship as well too. I literally have $2,000 in debt, which is like fucking awesome, and my dad was like, I got you, bro. So like no college debt, which is awesome. And the other part of that was like, I got the experience of actually living on campus too. I know there's a lot of people out there that'll commute for their education, and that's cool. And especially, if you need to make money and you need to stay on your grind, that's awesome. But I really do believe, especially a place like Purdue, man, like you are gypping yourself when you don't get that experience of actually like living on campus. Like I had a friend, he would literally commute 30 minutes a day, had to try to find parking, like all this other shit. And like, he wasn't able to like develop social circles as a result. I mean, he got into a fraternity, which actually helped him out a lot. But if he wouldn't have done that, I mean, he would have just like, I know he would have regretted going to college in the first place.
Oh yeah. You gotta, want to put yourself out to new experiences. You want to keep an open mind, try new things, meet new people. If you go in with that mindset, exactly what you said, you get out what you put in, but if you don't, you're going to hate it. So it's just the way it is. And
that's everything in life, my friends. Yo, what other questions do you have for us, Eliaz?
Should I just rapid shoot right now?
Yeah, I want you to rapid shoot. We can expand upon topics too. This has been a really good conversation, by the way, so far. Hey, really quick for the audience, make sure to go check out the links down below for Parsa's content on TikTok, on Instagram. He posts awesome shit. Also, make sure to go check out our website, InspoCast.com. We have our calendar schedule of all of our events on there, so you can literally click on it. It will show you a description of what the conversation was. It will send you straight to the YouTube video. Go check it out. All of our social media links are in there. It's in the link in our bio on Instagram. And also we are posting all the reels and stuff too for the highlight clips. So
InspoCast OnlyFans coming soon. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that'd be kind of sexy. Yo, just some sick ass cunts in some underwear, bro.
Yo, can we take a quick bathroom break and come back?
Yeah, we can do it really quick. All right, we're going to take one more intermission, and then we're going to finish out this podcast with some rapid fire and probably some closing remarks. We're back from the break. We are going to, like we said, shoot out those rapid fire questions, probably expand upon them a little bit, and then we're going to go out with our closing remarks like we always do. You know what I'm saying?
Importance of rest in between sets.
Extremely important. Longer rest times allow you to work harder. I have a personal theory that if you could spend 24 hours in a gym, you do a set of curls to failure, and then you wait like 5 minutes, and then you do another set, and you get more tired, and then you wait like 6 minutes, and then you could go all day and just rest a little bit longer each time. And I have a feeling you could like possibly get infinite stimulus. I don't know. It's just a theory that I have, but I think longer rest times are better. Obviously, we don't have 24 hours in the gym.
Yeah.
2 to 3 minutes, if it's a smaller muscle like my arms or my traps or maybe my rear delts, I'll do 2 minutes. If it's a big, heavy, like compound, I may even get up to like 5 minutes. Like on my squats, I will literally take 7-minute breaks if it's really heavy squats.
Yo, that would be the most clickbaity YouTube video of all time. 24 hours in the gym to see if I could grow big biceps.
Dude, I think it would.
Yeah, and that comes with the constituent of like you'd have to eat and you'd also have to get 8 hours of sleep.
Yes.
But outside of that, and hydrate, but like outside of that, I mean, yo, that's an interesting theory.
Because like you see the bodybuilders, like they'll lift 2 times a day for 3 hours, right? Obviously they're taking gear so they can recover more.
Yeah.
But I just have a feeling like if like we're creating our workouts to be structured around an hour and a half, and that's why we do things the way we do. But like if it was normal to work out for 4 hours, like would we make 1.5 times gains? I think it would be close.
Possibly. It's return on investment, right? Like, would you get the same? You wouldn't get the same bang for your buck. It's like, it's like 90% of your gains are made in like the first 30 minutes, or I don't know what the whole phrase is, because you're gonna tear like an insane amount of muscle tissue. But like, if you think about it in the rest period like scenario, I mean, there's a high likelihood.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, if you're a power lifter, like you want to squat your 1 rep max, you can do it once. If you rest maybe 10 minutes, you might be able to do it again. But like, let's say you could rest like an hour and then do another rep of your 1 rep max. And then you like eat and whatever, and you rest another hour. Like you're fully recovered the next time you go in there. And could you just keep like spamming your 1 rep max and get super strong? I don't know. It's just a little thing I think about.
Okay. What's our next question?
Form over weights or weights over form, or a combination of both in terms of putting on mass?
Combination of both. So my first plateau was that I wasn't lifting heavy enough. I was going way too light, and I was just focusing on getting 12 reps with this light weight. Once I increased the weight and I started struggling, then it made a big difference. But at the same time, your form has to last. I like going to failure, but form failure. So until your form starts to fail, then you stop. It's not like total muscular failure. So I think it's a combination.
I like the little add in there.
So I saw this TikTok. It was like you warm up until, and then your first set is your heaviest set. So what do you think are the benefits to that?
So your first working set will be your heaviest one, and everything before that you're warming up. So I'm gonna go lightweight, a little bit lighter, focusing on good form, getting some blood in the muscle, because like if you think about it, you can't do like, you know, your 1 rep max of squat just fresh out the gate. You need to warm up your muscle, you need to warm up your body, get some blood in there, get the muscles primed. I think the benefit of doing your heaviest set first is that that's when you have the most energy. So you have like this energy bar, and you warm up, maybe you use like 5%, but now you're primed with 95% energy, fully warmed up to do it. Whereas if what, you know, beginners normally do is they'll do their working sets and they'll go up in weight. So now by the time they get to their heaviest weight, they're at 50% energy bar.
I like how you said primed. I think about a vehicle, like, you know, you need, you know, if you're going to paint a car, right, you can't just paint over the spray paint. Like you actually have to prime it, right? You have to like, you know, sand it off and stuff like that to be able to do it effectively, right? Or else long-term you look at the results and that's probably not going to look very good. And it's not going to feel very good either. So no, I like how you said that though. What's our next question? If you don't have one, I have one really quick.
The best way to become more disciplined, because a lot of people rely on motivation.
You need to make it part of your schedule. Find a time in the day, every day, that you're going to do this one thing. You know, for me, going to the gym, it's got to be at a certain time, like either right before breakfast or right after breakfast. Every day is when I do it. And it can't just be like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym at 3 o'clock tomorrow. I'll see you when I go to the gym, because you won't do it. It's from 3 to 5 is my gym time. And once you make that part of your schedule, the discipline will follow. Number 2, get somebody to lift with you. Helps a lot. The days that you don't want to go, they want to go. Days that you want to go, they may not want to go. You keep each other accountable. Those are probably my 2 biggest discipline tips.
Okay. And how do you, I think there's kind of like this period too of like maybe the first 2 weeks of where you're trying to get into a routine where it's very difficult. What advice do you have in that realm? Like just like trying to get up to speed and like trying to get into that consistent routine.
Yeah. I would say, like you said, that first period is the most difficult. But once you get about like 5 days or something like that, the habit becomes really, it just starts to become a habit. So understanding, hey, it's going to be difficult, but you're trying to make this into a habit. If what you need to do is you need to go have a 50% workout where you just do half of what you need to do it. That's okay. But the act of actually getting to the gym is the important thing. 2, make sure you have some music that you like. I mean, at the end of the day, this is something that's supposed to be fun. You're going, you're having a little dance party. Look good, feel good. It's a very real thing.
Yo, that's crazy that you said that. We had a girl on the podcast last night that was like, and just dance in the gym.
Yeah.
She was like, have fun with it. And we're just like, wow, that was actually like really fucking good advice. There's some truth to that. Yeah. Have fun with it. Right.
Yeah.
Do you have more questions? I got one more.
No.
My last one is, I mean, you've touched on a little bit, you know, you talked about your theory of like, you know, if you could just rest in the gym, you know, have those periods of rest in the gym for 24 hours, like, you know, you can make infinite gains. Like, what is the importance of rest to the muscle building equation?
So we want to be able to strain our muscles, and then from there we feed them, and then the stimulus that we give them allow it to grow. And the amount of muscle you build is proportional to the amount of work that you do. We call it volume, or the amount of sets that you do. And if you want to, in my opinion, grow as big as you can, you want to do the most amount of weight times the most amount of reps. And that's what we call volume. So if you say do a rep of curl or a set of curls for 8 with 30 pounds, and then you rest 30 seconds, you're going to get like 3 reps, right? So your volume is just totally knocked down. You give your muscles a little bit of time to recover, maybe take a couple minute break instead. Now you can do that 30 pounds for 7, right? That is a huge increase on the amount of stimulus. You know, there's a couple things you can do. Some people don't like to wait around. They fidget a lot. You can do supersets. So while you work out one muscle, in your rest time for, say, your biceps, you go and train a different muscle, like your triceps or your shoulders or your hamstring, completely different muscles. So like if your chest, don't superset that with your triceps because they work together, right? You want to superset maybe your chest with your back. The other thing is, in that rest time, you can, like something I would do is I'd like play chess puzzles, But it's easy to get distracted if you're on your phone. A big tip I would give, set a timer. A short timer in between sets. Like, it just helps you go so much faster.
I actually have a magnet on the back of my phone, and I can stick it up on things, and I can see the timer like right there, which really
that's a great idea.
Yeah, it does help a lot. Shit, I had one more for you. Damn it, I can't remember.
Well, here, while you think of it, there's one thing I did want to touch on. So there's this big debate. Do you train to failure? Should you train to failure? 2 of my plateaus, I try to keep a list of all the plateaus I had. So 1, I wasn't going heavy enough. I increased the weight. I started to make gains. 2, I wasn't eating enough food. So I was always a really lean guy. I started to count my calories, throw in a little bit of olive oil with my food, started to make more gains. Number 3, I needed to switch my frequency from like a bro split, work every muscle once a week, to a push-pull legs, made more gains. Eventually, one of my plateaus, again, was I needed to work out harder. So the way that I figured this out was during quarantine, I was lifting in my basement. I was doing like push-ups. I was putting like books in a backpack. I had a pull-up bar, thankfully. And I didn't have enough weight to go really heavy. So I just had to do a ton of reps till I went to failure. Like, I was just shrugging a backpack for like 70 reps. I was doing pull-ups to failure. I was doing push-ups to failure. And I was doing split squats to failure. And like, certain muscles of mine actually got bigger. Like my teardrop muscle, I think it's called like the vastus lateralis or something. I actually don't know. I might be capping on that, but got bigger from split squats going to failure. My back got the biggest it's ever been, and I was not using weights. I was just doing pull-ups. And so then I was like, okay, like, let me just try to translate that into the gym once I got back into the gym. So then I started to try to push every set to failure in the gym. And like, that was the time period where like I did that. And then I came back to Purdue, and then people are like, yo, like, you taking steroids? And it was like, well, it was a period of good eating, good sleeping. And then working out really, really hard, like going to failure. Now the way I like to train is I will basically do drop sets on almost every exercise to push a little bit harder to failure. So you do like 8 reps of an exercise until you can't go anymore, drop the weight by like maybe like 40%, keep going until you can't go anymore. And it just pushes you a little closer to failure. Most people think it's an advanced technique, but I've trained people that are beginners, and I tell them, listen, you don't need to train the way I train. They're like, I want to do drop sets. I want to train to failure. And they don't really have problems recovering, and they make really good gains. So I think everybody can do it, and I would definitely recommend at least one set. Start off maybe your last set of every exercise, try to push to failure, and then from there, if you can work to your second to last, then your third to last. And you don't always need to do it, right? Like, be wary of, like, don't hurt yourself. Sometimes I just don't want to work out that hard. I won't. But you will see a big difference if you start pushing yourself like you mean it.
So actually, you kind of touched on it. The nootropics kicked in, so I remember what you were talking about. We refer to them in the podcast as intensifiers. So in essence, you talk about the drop sets, you talk about the supersets, right? Like, those are intensifiers for your workout that are an additional layer that will help accelerate your gains, right? So what are other like intensifiers, so to speak, that you believe in?
Okay. There's a few ways. One, like really slowing down that negative, and making sure you go into a full stretch. Like, you can do a slow negative and not get into a full stretch, get into that full stretch. Like I said, they found, like studies are looking to show that lengthening that muscle, with a slow eccentric, lengthening motion will build significant muscle. So that's slowing down your negative. One, really thinking about exploding and squeezing, is a big one. You can reduce your rest time. Drop sets are pretty big. Those I would say are probably the biggest.
Okay. Yeah, because everybody's always trying to level up their fitness game. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's all really good advice. And we've talked about a few of those, but that's very all-encompassing. So I like to hear that. But is that all of our questions? Is that all of our rapid fires?
I got one about training. Because you said volume is good. Was there too much volume?
Absolutely. This was another one of my plateaus. My chest was not getting any bigger. And I was like, okay, what's going on? I'm literally doing 26 sets of chest a week. Like, I'm doing 13 sets per workout. Like, why am I getting not stronger? And then I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing too much chest. So I like backed off. I started doing 16 sets a week. And then my strength started to go up. Then my size started to go up. So that was a portion where I was like, okay, if you're not getting stronger, if you're feeling maybe even weaker, if you feel like you're not putting on size proportionally to the rest of your body, are you overtraining? So shoot for maybe 10 to 20 sets per week. I'm sure if you're more advanced, maybe you could do more sets.
Or you're on gear.
What up?
Or you're on gear.
Oh, yeah. Or you're on gear. Yeah, I mean, I really have just kind of stick to like 16 sets per muscle.
Yeah.
Normally is kind of where I'm
Okay.
where I'm at. And as I get more advanced, I'm not really doing more sets. I got to experiment with that. I don't know if I can recover from that. I just like to work out harder during my sets.
Got it. I like how you think about, I personally think about things on a weekly basis, not a daily basis, because, the time over time is going to tell. And I was going to ask you actually what you think the sweet spot for sets in a week is, but it sounds like 16 for you at least. I think everybody's going to be different, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah.
But as a beginner, would you recommend, shooting around 16 sets per muscle group per week?
Yeah, no more than 20. Big muscles, at least 10. If you're doing a push-pull legs where you have like your arms working indirectly, I think you can get away with maybe like 6 to 8 direct sets of arms per week. So you're doing your rows, that works your biceps. You're doing your pull-ups, that works your biceps. And then just 4 sets of curls 2 times a week could be enough. If you feel like you need a little bit more volume for your arms or those smaller muscles, just add another set. But there's no need to go and do like 30 sets of arms a week. It's
right.
Not going to be better.
Do not progressive overload through the sets, people. Progressive overload through the intensity of your workout.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. That's a great tip.
I mean, that's in essence what you were saying. So I just fed off of you. But is that it? Is that our rapid fire? Unless you got one more.
No.
All right. We're going to be wrapping up this podcast here soon. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in, by the way. But hey, before we end, we got to ask the final questions. I know you haven't heard them yet. So the very first one I have for you is going to be, if you were to listen to the next episode of the InspoCast, who would you want to hear on the InspoCast? And I always make a disclaimer, it can't be Arnold.
Oh, okay. Well, I was actually going to say, like, we were talking about Niall Niaga.
Yes.
Because he, I was explaining to Cole in the car, I was a freshman. I go to our rec center, and I see this massive Asian dude in there. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's fucking huge.
Yep.
And, I'll never look like him. And then, it really inspired me to work out harder. And now the guy's extremely successful. He was a mechanical engineer, obviously a smart guy. And, he followed his passion into fitness, and he's got like over 1 million followers on Instagram. I would love to hear about his like work ethic, what it took for him to get to that point, what sacrifices did he have to make. Honestly, I think that would be a very cool one.
Now we're shooting after you, brother. And I already told you about the connection point. So we're going to be trying to hit that one up. And actually, fun fact, because I followed him. I think anybody that went to the co-rec knew him. That was the truth. When I first started following him, he had 20,000 followers on Instagram. He is at 1.2 million right now. He literally changed his life for the better. He decided, obviously I think part of the reason he pursued the degree path he did, and this is me just speaking out of like, just outside view looking in, family pressure and stuff like that to be successful, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer type of stuff. And he was like, that's not what I want to do. I want to do fitness. And like, he carved that path for himself. So like you said, I think it would be very interesting to hear about like what his work ethic was, how he dealt with that scenario too, of like telling his parents like, yo, I'm doing fitness for a living. Like, that's got to be a tough conversation to have, especially if your parents like, you're going to be a doctor. But okay, so thank you. So now you're coming on the podcast. It's going to happen at some point, okay? And also Nathan Brooks as well. I know he's a good friend of Niall out in California. He's a Cyclops athlete. Nathan, we want to have you on the podcast as well. I'm going to send this clip to you. But anyways, my second to last question, before we get to the very last question from him, is going to be, I want to give you, the InspoCast wants to give you a platform to speak to your audience, whoever that may be, your TikTok, your Instagram followers, or whoever we talked a little bit about who you think your audience is, right? That skinny kid. Just words of advice, wisdom, motivation to leave off the podcast with.
Your goal as a person should always be to bring more good into the world. I think karma is a very real thing. You put more good into the world, more good will come down to you. You're less selfish, you will get more good coming to you. You should want to help people as much as you can, be as much of a positive person as you can. You should want to change your life for the better so you can make other people's lives better, make those genuine connections. Always stay learning. Like, your brain is like a muscle. If you keep learning, your brain will get stronger. Always learn, always be aware of the way that you act. How can you be kinder? You can't be perfect. Don't beat yourself up, but always try to be better. Try to help those around you. Be kinder. People in the gym, I hate seeing this thing nowadays where like they're making fun of people going to the gym. Like, are you kidding me? The whole reason you go to the gym is to be a better person, not to like let your ego take over so you can make fun of people. Always help out as much as you can. Be kinder, and be the force of good in the world.
like you talked about at the beginning of this podcast, you know, a lot of it is just changing the mindset and the preconceived notion of yourself. Change that self-talk from negative to positive. And I think you embody that as an individual through your content and obviously that your final statement there. So thank you for that. That is all I have. Let's hear it.
All right, last question. So for the people that made it to the end of the video, give them something to comment in the comment section down below.
Literally doesn't matter, whatever.
Ooh, I want you to comment GILF in the comments. GILF.
Hashtag GILF in the comment section, all capital, period in between every letter, G period, I period, L period, F period in the comment section. Blow that up down below.
Hey, you can be anything you want. It was great to be on here.
Yes,
Very
sir.
nice.
I appreciate you.
Bro.
And guess what, folks? That was an epic conversation. And that concludes a weekend's bender of content. Oh my gosh. And you guys are going to be seeing all the clips poured out throughout this whole entire week. Make sure to go give the video some love. Like we said, we're going to leave all of his contact information down below. Make sure to go follow him on TikTok. Make sure to go follow him on Instagram. Like we said, go follow the InspoCast page on Instagram. It has our website link on there. Click on that. That will have all of our social media platforms, any information up to date on the podcast. And that is going to conclude episode 17, baby. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.